ha yo hey yo ha ya way yo hey day yo way yo hey day ya hey yo. Good afternoon. My name is Tony Duncan. I come from the San Carlos Apache tribe, as well as representing the Mandan, the Hidatsa, and the Arikara nations. I'd like to share and celebrate Native American Heritage Month, as it is the month of November. And I'd like to thank and say I'd like to say thank you to Glendale Community College for allowing me to come and share a little bit of my stories, a little bit of my dancing, a little bit of my music with you here today. I'd like to hopefully share and break some of the different stereotypes that might be heard amongst Native peoples. I'd like to show that our culture is still alive as Native people. We still share those stories with our children, those stories that teach many things, those stories that talk about the creation of all living beings, and that story that's also found through hoop dancing. I'd like to share that today as well. I'd like to start off right now with a song. This is a song that I like to play on the flute. My father taught me how to play the flute when I was about 10 years old. My father gifted me with a river cane flute, and the river cane flutes are the flutes that are indigenous to Arizona, the Pima, the Navajo, as well as the Apache. We all use river cane flutes. They're similar to bamboo, but a little bit thinner of the walls. The bore of the flute as well is a lot smaller, and oftentimes creates a higher tone of a flute. I like to share this instrument. This particular flute is that I mentioned of the river cane. As you can see here, the river cane is a very soft sounding flute. They say that the flute was a gift from the bird people. There's many different stories from up north that talk about the flute being a gift from the bird people. And they say that very first flute was carved by the woodpecker. And they say a long time ago there was a young man, and this young man was going on this walk that he does every morning, early in the morning. And as he was walking that morning, he happened to hear the sounds of the bird people as they were speaking in their language. And at that time, all living beings could understand each other. It wasn't until human beings became greedy and started to take more than they actually needed that way of understanding the language of the four-legged, the language of the winged people, that was taken from the human beings as punishment for being greedy. But long ago, before that happened, they say that this young man, he was able to understand those birds as they were speaking to one another. And he heard as they would talk about a new instrument that was to be made. And he went and he listened to those birds, and he could hear them, and he went and sat right underneath the tree, that huge tree that they were gathered upon the top. And they say that those bird people, they began talking to one another, and there was one bird, the leader of those woodpeckers, the larger bird, and he was telling the younger birds, peck a hole right here, make another hole right here, move down a little and make a hole right there, make another hole right here. And he was talking to those birds as he was showing them on a hollowed out tree branch that was on the top of that tree. And they say those little smaller woodpeckers, they went ahead and started to carve out each one of those holes, moving up and down that branch, that hollowed out tree branch. After they had made all those holes on that tree branch, and the larger bird, the leader of those birds, went and looked and saw how they were done and gave the nod of approval. He went ahead and went and carved out the air chamber here. Carved it out this way. And then he went and they all gathered at the base of that branch that connected it to that trunk. And they started to peck away, peck away, peck away. And that tree branch finally fell as it fell all the way down, and it landed into the hands of this young man that was sitting there. And they say that that lead bird went and sat on the shoulders of this young man and told him that this is going to be a new instrument, a gift from the bird people. And he told him to blow into this end and to blow air into this end and to open and close the holes that they had created. Open and close these holes, and pretty soon that bird would whistle a song, and he would tell that young man to copy him and to mimic that same song. And so the little bird would whistle a song, and then that young man would play. And they said, "Oh, that sounds beautiful, that sounds beautiful. Now try this." And the bird would whistle. And the young man would go. He would try to copy and mimic those birds. Pretty soon they got to play a song really nice. And that young man would play again. And they would go back and forth as the little birds and the leader of the birds would whistle the different songs, and this young man would play those songs as well, back and forth to each other. Song after song, those bird people taught this young man. And finally, they said, "Take this new instrument back to the people and share our songs from the bird people." And so I'd like to share a song with you right now. This particular song is a song called Zuni Sunrise. This song was shared to me by my father. My father, Ken Duncan Sr., would sing this song with a hand drum, and I'd play it on the flute. And so I hope you enjoy this song. If you were to imagine facing the eastern direction, greeting the sun with a song of gratitude, a song of appreciation, a song saying thank you, saying thank you, may blessings continue for me. A song that showed that gratitude for that gift of life, that gift of being able to wake in the morning to see a new sunrise each day. And so this is a song that's called Zuni Sunrise. Zuni Sunrise, a song showing that gratitude for that gift of life. So this here, as I mentioned there, this is a Apache river cane flute. You can hear the sound, kind of a lighter sound, and the walls are a lot thinner than a lot of the deeper sounding flutes that come from the Dakotas, made from a lot of different hardwoods. But this one here made from river cane, and then the top of it is actually another piece of river cane, and you would just place that on top, and that's how it would actually regulate the amount of air that goes through. So when I blow into this, the air comes through, goes up, across, and then straight down, and that's what creates the sound. So once again, this is a river cane flute. This one here was made by the late Paul Thompson, a renowned, to me, very legendary flute maker. The late Paul Thompson from the Navajo Nation. He resided in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'd like to share another flute with you here. This one here has a little bit thicker walls here, so it's a little bit deeper sound, deeper resonation. And as you can see, this one here also has very similar design as well, except this one is carved. And it's actually carved by one block of wood, or they would use those old branches a long time ago, and they would carve out the inside and place them back together. And if you ever get time to check out the Smithsonian, they have these really nice flutes from around the turn of the century. A lot of these different flutes that were made, a lot of them being Lakota flutes. I've seen a couple of those that are adhered together, actually with the pine pitch, or the tree sap, and they use that as a way to adhere the wood together. And then they would have these bands here, the same way as this here. They'd use these here to tie them, the leather ties that would come around here, and they would go around each hole on the inside right here, in between each hole, and they would bind the flute together. And so I'd like to share another song with you, and this is the song that's called The Dance of the Coyote. Now, in many different indigenous peoples, we believe in stories that teach. These are stories oftentimes that teach our younger ones. We teach them sometimes what not to do, and we teach them how to show respect for different elements of life through different lessons in stories. And one of those main characters in a lot of those teaching stories is a character by the name of Trickster. And Apaches, our trickster is Matsose, the coyote. And there's a lot of stories about the coyote. He's such a funny but such a clever, very cunning character. And we learn a lot through what he does, and we learn a lot through his adventures as well. And so I grew up listening to a lot of stories that were shared to me by my father. And one of those stories talks about how great of a dancer the coyote was, Matsose, and how he would go to different villages, maybe a village of the Javelina people, a village of the rattlesnake people, a village of the stink bug people, a village of the Gila monster people. And all of these different peoples that lived within the deserts are right below, right when the pine trees start to turn into desert land. Around that area, they say that the Matsose, the coyote, the trickster, that he at one particular time went and danced for all these different areas, different villages, as he went to travel all across the land. And it was the time of a full moon, and he danced, and he was such a great dancer. And so one of those stories that my father shared with me just had that particular passage in it, where Trickster would dance under a full moon for different villages of the four-legged beings. And so this is a song that's called The Dance of Matsose, or The Dance of the Coyote. It's a Trickster song. Thank you. That's the Dance of the Coyote Trickster song, and as you can see the flute here, this has a lot deeper bore, or a lot deeper walls, and then the same style, the wooden flute. And this one was made by another good friend of mine over in the state of California, Guillermo Martinez. And so this flute is one of my favorites, and this one here is made using cedar. And so this is a cedar flute. A lot of times I love using cedar flutes because, you know, cedar is one of our medicines that we use, and so we use the cedar for different ways of prayer, different ways of honorings, different ways of gifting is used with cedar. And so those songs that we play with cedar flutes, hopefully they maintain the same energy, the same feeling after someone is maybe given a gift. It's the same way. So that song there was a gift for all of you today. Dance of the Coyote, or Matsose's Dance, Trickster song. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about my regalia that I'm wearing here today, and then I'd like to share my dance known as the hoop dance. But if you notice, I use the word regalia, and so these designs and these colors, they all tell stories, and they all talk about the different dancer that's wearing them, or the storyteller that's wearing them. They tell the story of that particular person, and so they're very, very personal, and they're made custom for each dancer. So this vest was measured just for me. The color blue represents my protection stone that I was given. In Apache way, you're given a protection stone and a small eagle plume, and you wear that and you carry that with you throughout your life for protection. And so that's the color of my protection stone, is this color of blue. And then you see the colors that I have here. These are the fire colors. They represent and they hopefully bring that energy of a flickering flame. You want to have a dance, you want to move like the way a flickering flame does, quick movements. As I dance to the sound of the drum, everything is within quick movements. You see my hoops going this way, everything moves with that same agility, that same quickness, as smooth as a flickering flame. And so you see the fire colors right there, and then right next to it you see the black and the white, and that represents the eagle feathers. It represents the eagle feathers. Having eagle feathers around and having eagle feathers on a part of your regalia also brings forth good medicine, good energy, good feelings, and it brings forth those ways of blessing. And so it represents good medicine. And so you just want to have everything that makes you feel good upon your regalia as you dance. And so it lets you dance in a good way. And so that's how I have all the colors there. Is the fire and also the eagle feather style here. And then it looks similar to a butterfly, the way it looks here. Butterfly or dragonflies as well is, and that was actually designed by Lisa Little Iron. She was the maker of all of this. So everything that you see that has beads, even my earrings, even my headband, and this is an eagle also that comes on here. And so everything that you see here was done by Lisa Little Iron. She's of the Oglala Lakota Nation. She's from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and she's been a very good friend of our family, and she comes from a family of really well-known beadwork artists, and so she tells many stories through beads, and she's just such a renowned artist, and I'm very thankful that she was able to create this for me. And so this is done by Lisa Little Iron, and it tells my story as a dancer. These elk represent the flute medicine. They represent love medicine. And so she wanted to help me express that I'm a flute player. And so she asked if she could do these elk on here, because in her way, that's what it represents, is the elk is the carrier of that love medicine using that whistle, kind of similar to that flute. And so what I wear on the top here too, this is the wapeisha. This is made from porcupine hair. It's made from a porcupine hair. It's the guard hair from a porcupine, not the quill, but the guard hair from a porcupine that stands way up tall. And then the smaller hair, the colored hair, is the hair from a white-tailed deer. And they put these, the porcupine hair on, they have a long string, and you have to sort out the hair. It's a very, very meticulous, a lot of work to create one of these, the headdress, the porcupine roaches, the wapeisha that we wear. So the artist that puts these together, I really appreciate all the time and effort that they take, and it's really an art, that was kind of going away for a while, and now it's really coming back a lot through the next generations. And so this one here was made by Nathan Largo, and he created this for me here, and also he made some for my son. I made one for my son, Naichi. So that's a little bit about the regalia that we wear. Once again, you notice that we don't call them costumes. Costumes are something that you put on to pretend to be, like for Halloween, pretending to be Batman or something like that, and then you take it off and then you're back to just your regular daily life. But this is who we are, and so even when I take this off, I still represent my people. I still am Apache. I still am Arikara, and I still am Hiratsa. But this just tells that little bit more of that story, and this is our traditional regalia. And so it tells the story of our people, it tells the story of that particular individual. And so I hope you can see a lot of this regalia here, and I hope you learned a little bit more about what the different regalia represents for each person, each individual. They're very special to each person, and hopefully you have a lot more of an understanding, and in such have a lot more respect for different regalias that you may see. And next I'd like to share with you my dance style that is known as hoop dance. These are the hoops that I'll be dancing with. Bouncing, bouncing, spinning, changing. All of life is in constant motion. And so this is a dance that honors each part of life. It honors the springtime, going into summertime, fall, and then going into winter. And then all of life doesn't just stop there. All the snow starts to melt. All those small seeds start to blossom. And we find ourselves back in the time of spring, renewal. Everything begins again. And so all of life moves in that sacred cycle. All of life moves in circles. And so it represents not only those seasons that we see on Mother Earth, but also the seasons of our own lives. When we look at our families, we see our children. We see the small little infants that bring us happiness. We see the adolescents, those that are maybe going into high school, those that are going into college, and of course in different universities. And we honor that direction, that doorway of the summertime. That's the time that people learn so much at such a small amount of time. It's a very critical time. And so we dance to honor and to try to say you're doing a good job. We dance and we try to say you're on the right path. We try to encourage and say that we are proud of what you are doing for your people, and we are proud for what you are doing for your families and how you're building a strong future. And so we dance to honor all of you that are right now in that direction and that way of adolescence going into adulthood. And then in adulthood, we dance to honor our parents as you become a mother, become a father, become an auntie, uncle, and that portion of your life, you start to begin new traditions for your family and start to pass down those traditions that were taught to you. You start to use a lot of those teachings that were taught to you by your older relatives, and you start to build our families You start to build your own family, and everything starts to move in this way. And then we move again in that circle as we get older, and we gain that highest title of grandmother or grandfather. We gain that title of a culture carrier. We gain that title of elder. And so that is that direction that we honor as well within this circle. And then once again, just like the seasons, all of life doesn't just end there. In our native way, we believe we move back to the sacred doorway from which we came, and we go into that next world. And so these are all of those different stages of life, those different seasons of our lives are all found within this hoop. And so I hope you enjoy this dance here. This is the dance that they say has its origin as a way of healing. They say it comes from the Taos Pueblo people of New Mexico. And this dance has its origin as a way of healing. The hoop dance using willow hoops. People would come from far and wide to be blessed and to be healed by this dance, as it was in a ceremonial way. And an individual by the name of Tony Whitecloud really brought this dance into another realm, into more of a social aspect of dancing. And he carried this dance all across Turtle Island. And it was in the 1930s and the 1940s where many people started to recognize this dance and started to see this dance as he took it and traveled all across Europe. He took this dance and traveled all across different parts of the United States. And he was even in many different motion pictures in the 1940s. And he got really well known as a dancer. And he was the founder of the modern day hoop dance, Tony Whitecloud. And so they created an honoring for him. And there was here in Phoenix, Arizona, they had the Tony Whitecloud Memorial Hoop Dance Contest. And that in turn became known as the World Championship Hoop Dance Contest. And that happens to be right here in the state of Arizona. And many people come from all across the country to dance. And so it's a dance that has really went from that ceremonial way to a social way, all the way now to a very competitive form of dancing. And so this is also a dance that is now intertribal, having its roots from the Taos Pueblo people of New Mexico. Now this dance here is done by many different tribes, but it still maintains that original form of dancing and honoring and healing. As we celebrate all life, we celebrate all living beings through this dance. And once again, I'm very happy to be dancing, and very honored that Glendale Community College, throughout the past years, I'm very honored to be asked to share my story through music and dance. I hope you enjoy this dance here. Once again, honoring, we say Ahie Gojunlil to the east, we say Ahie Gojunlil to the south, Ahie Gojunlil to the west, Ahie Gojunlil to the north, as we dance to honor each doorway, each direction, each phase of life, every member of our families. We say thank you. Hoop dance. Ahia. Thank you as we celebrate Native American Heritage Month, this month of November. Once again, Ahia Kojoleth to Glendale Community College for letting me share a little bit of my story with all of you here today. Ahia.